Welcome, everybody, to our 13th Lift Up live event with my co host Rosey Grant and I. We are back and we actually celebrated our 1 year Lift Up anniversary, didn't we, Rosey, about 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago?
yeah, it was buzzing. I think we released a lovely video talking on the memories and why it's really important that we're a part of this community.
It did, yeah, it gave us an excellent opportunity actually to review what has happened within the group over the last 12 months. And it's been a bit mind boggling, wasn't it, Rosie? I think the ambassadors internally, we kind of came together, acknowledged we'd had over 35,000 global views on the 12 broadcasts, podcasts, blogs, 26 key speakers globally helping us out on these lovely live events. So it's been a phenomenal journey so far. So thank you so much for everybody that's been a part of it and everybody that's new, hopefully joining us today. So for those of you that are new, Lift Up, the mission statement is all about connecting, championing and inspiring women across the industry, life sciences industry specifically, from academia all the way through to C-suite. And we launched this, I think it was August, September time last year. A group came together internally here within Fraser Dove International, the Life Sciences Executive Search Talent Consultancy. And we just thought, how can we give back to the life sciences industry that we're in and leverage off of all the wonderful relationships that we've got within the space to support others? So it's grown immensely. And we're really excited to talk about the topic growth mindset through lifelong learning today with two great key speakers that are sitting backstage at the moment and keen to come in and join us. But before we do, I'm going to do a very quick introduction into myself and then pass it over to my co host, Rosey. So I'm Louise Williams. I'm the Global Operations Director here at Fraser Dove International, and I've been within the business for around 2.5 years now. I've been in staffing for about 19 years, life sciences specifically for 10 years, where I was a medical and clinical recruiter before moving into management director and now a leadership role. I've got two kids. I've got a 3-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl, both in which keep me hugely busy outside of work as well. So that's a little bit about me. And over to you, Rosey.
Yeah, thank you, Louise. I'm really excited. Number 13
I know.
of our live broadcast. So it's exciting to keep on building on the impact, hopefully, that we're having and creating this platform. But from my side, I've been at Fraser Dove for over 3 years. I've been in technical operations, leadership hiring for that whole time. And prior to Fraser Dove, I was actually with Boston Scientific and BTG, which is a medical devices organization, and fell in love with the industry through the patient centricity that surrounded my team and the work we were doing. And also had the honor of having some amazing female mentors and managers throughout my career. And hopefully this provides a platform that's going to do the same for others.
Yeah.
But yeah, without further ado, I guess thank you for joining. For those that are joining us now, please do comment, tell us where you're coming from, and what function it is that you are in. We love to help you connect. This is a form of networking for you, but
Mhm.
also it helps us really streamline and channel the conversation to make sure it's hopefully going to be personal and relatable for everyone watching. So say hello, jump in and let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rosie. And lastly, just pop in any cues in front of you, the questions that you've got throughout the live broadcast. Those of you that has joined us here before, you know that the second half of our broadcast, we always try to feed back out to the audience and get the audience engaged with our key speakers as much as possible. So to help us navigate through the comments, if you can just pop a capital Q at the beginning, that would be fab. And as Rosie said, get into the comments that you're dialing in and where you're dialing from. It's always lovely to see everybody dialing in globally. So without further ado, I think let's bring in our key speakers. So I've got Angela joining us. Hello, Angela.
Hello, Louise, and good day to everyone who's joining. I want to start with a special thanks to you, Louise and Rosey, for coordinating this Lift Up community. You make it look so easy, but as I have seen, there's a lot of time and effort to prepare. So thank you so much for having me today. And so this life sciences industry, there is so much to love about it. I joined the life science industry after earning my degree in chemical engineering. I joined with a fabulous company, 𝐋𝐢𝐟𝐭 Inc., and learned so much, a wonderful environment for learning and growing. I started in a new role in environmental engineering, so not necessarily a complete alignment to chemical engineering, but it was a chemical manufacturing facility where I applied my knowledge and my learnings. So within Merck, there were so many opportunities to expand my career and my opportunity to learn. So I took on roles in process engineering and technical services. As the environment and the landscape started changing and patents were expiring within Merck, I joined the supply chain organization. I was also incredibly fortunate to have a product when I was in Merck Research Laboratory, a product that scaled up. I was on the team that built a new manufacturing facility in France. And I was pleased to see that process validated and that product eventually approved for marketing authorization. So then I took this risk for growth. I took a risk and I left the comforts of Merck to join a smaller pharmaceutical company, 𝐋𝐢𝐟, which is now Takeda. And I must say that just opened up a new world for me of new opportunities, new challenges, new learning. It was an environment that was fast-paced and where you could wear multiple hats, and I completely thrived within that 𝐋𝐢𝐟 environment. My career progressed and I took on another opportunity, this time back within, let's call it big pharma, with Bristol Myers Squibb. And I was head of pharmaceutical planning and continued learning and growing there. And then a fabulous opportunity came up with a company called Celgene, where I took on a role as vice president of planning and logistics and also master data, something I didn't even know was in our life science industry, but I hope we have some master data experts on the webcast today. Love to hear from you. So as you can hear, I just took on a variety of responsibilities within life sciences. Celgene was a fabulous opportunity where I learned and also unlearned some things, and I hope we can talk about that later. But Celgene was just a wonderful environment, and then a new change occurred, and I assessed my career, assessed my why and what my purpose and motivations were, career aspirations. And I was able to find and align with a wonderful company, Trevena, as you can see in the background. It's a innovative company with groundbreaking medicines. So I'm delighted to be with Trevena as their Vice President of Technical Operations. So again, thank you for having me today.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Angela. And that's not a fake background, right? That's a real wall.
That is absolutely correct. Yes.
Yeah, but no, thank you. And what a career. And it's actually really nice, isn't it? Because it's not often that you'll see a product really early on in its infancy all the way through to commercialization. So, that's a wonderful experience. So thanks for sharing that, Angela. We'd love to bring Libette in, but I feel like we've got so many people just saying hello that maybe if we could bring a few in. So hi, Samantha Taylor, listening from Ireland, working regulatory affairs and quality assurance. Thanks, Samantha, for joining. We've got our Chief Commercial Officer at Fraser Dove, who's joining us today from sunny Southampton. I was going to say it's not sunny where we are.
Change.
Erin, looking forward to this topic today, joining from Boston, Massachusetts. We got loads coming through, haven't we? Arizona as well. Jennifer, lovely to have you here. If ever you see LinkedIn user, it's just the privacy settings that you've got set up on your LinkedIn profile. But I love
think that's
the Lift Up
Lisa.
group. Oh, is it?
Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
Yes. So
President
of Takeda. Yeah,
I was going to say, let's get Libette in, and then we can hopefully get to the questions that will be flying in from the audience.
And keep the comments coming through in the meantime. They're great to see. So Libette, lovely to have you here today. If you do the honor of an introduction as well to the audience, that'd be fab.
Certainly, Louise. Thank you very much, both of you, for having me on the panel today here with Angela to speak about growth mindset. I'm looking forward to all the discussions that come out of the questions that we have here. So in terms of where I come from, a little bit different scope. So I am a regulatory professional in the life sciences, working at a biotech company on metabolic disease currently as Vice President of Regulatory Affairs. I will say to the group and to the community, I am a non-traditional regulatory scientist who went to school for diplomacy and international relations and actually worked at the United Nations before I pivoted to pharmaceuticals 20 years ago. So a little bit of a different lens for everyone out there. And to that end, really in the beginning of my career, I was faced with many challenges from colleagues to really demonstrate my worth and the ability to really interpret scientific data. And it was very challenging at that time for me in terms of who I wanted to be, what my growth mindset was, and how I was going to contribute to the life sciences. But really, as I was questioning my abilities to be successful in R&D and in the pharmaceutical industry, I persevered with growth mindset and the desire to continue building my knowledge and skills. And I did this by reaching out to subject matter experts, going to conferences and having continual education and training, and really focusing on what I knew best within my formal education, which is really having the ability to translate information into clear, concise positions for key decision makers, which in my case is competent authorities, the FDA, EMA, and the likes. So really, I honed in on what I knew best, surrounded myself with a world of highly technical savvy individuals, and really, tried to, shepherd my career in that way, really coming from a different angle. So throughout my 20 years, I predominantly worked in large pharma. My first role was at Schering-Plough long ago, which became Merck, as we know, many years back, and landed in regulatory affairs there. And that was my first real go at it from a compliance perspective. And then because I was so young in my career, being non-traditional in terms of my formal education, I became a sales rep for 18 months at Novartis, which was very interesting. And I can certainly tell everybody, if you're in R&D and going out into the field and really seeing what our commercial colleagues go through on a daily basis is very eye-opening and was very enriching. And I take back all of that, all those experiences back with me as I work with our commercial colleagues. And I did that throughout my career. So, having that little peek into the sales arena was very eye-opening, and I knew that I wanted to hurry back into R&D, go back to regulatory. So with that, I've really, my foundation for global regulatory affairs was at Roche. I worked on a number of cardiovascular metabolic programs there, and again, too, going back into Roche, well, that was I would say my formal education or foray into regulatory. I still was, faced with challenges about how am I going to be successful with a number of professionals that had these PharmDs, MDs, PhDs. So coming from a non-traditional lens, it really invoked perseverance in me and wanting to succeed. And with that, I decided to venture off and leave Roche and look for different opportunities. I landed at a company called Forest, which is, I think, now Allergan, now AbbVie. So it's a lot of different forms it's taken over the years. But with that, I had a wonderful opportunity to be the global lead on a metabolic program, and really, again, using my perseverance, learning, really focusing in on my skill set as a negotiator and using the diplomacy as well as the ability to translate data into prose, into something that is palatable for the competent authorities so they can read and understand, the data sets and so forth that we put forth in our dossier to get products approved. So that was very enriching for me. So again, being faced with resistance at different parts of my career, really pushing forward and seeing where I could go, it helped me greatly. And, it's through that growth mindset and the ability to really resonate in what is your why. And I know we'll talk about that today. And really just, how they balance each other and how we should check in with each other. So with that, again, being in industry for almost 20 years now, or a little over 20 years, with all sorts of companies, big pharma, and now I'm in a small biotech, which has been very enriching, wonderful colleagues. And, I work in what's now called MASH, metabolic dysfunction associated steatohepatitis, which we now know as NASH. So looking forward to the discussion today, and I'll turn it back over to Rosey and Louise.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Libette. That's a great story, great career journey. And a lot of what you said touched upon quite a few of the previous lift ups we've actually run, hasn't it, Rosey? Things like Lynn Sullivan a few events ago was talking about her career not being, or shouldn't necessarily always be, a career ladder and going straight up a ladder, but she describes it as a jungle gym. And sometimes you've got to take on different aspects, whether it's from commercial R&D, regulatory, technical operations, to one, understand what it is that you really enjoy and what you're passionate about, two, what maybe your core superpower or key strengths are, and that kind of helps you navigate almost that journey upwards eventually. So some of the things that you said there really resonated with some of our previous events, which was great.
And
Yeah, we've got a lot of
resonating
interaction
with
yeah.
the audience. So field experience being, it's fantastic to better understand customer needs, but also it helps you really interact cross-functionally. And I think it sounds like throughout your career, people do go into those matrix positions where they're leading without direct authority. So the skill of influence without manipulation maybe is a key one. But I'm keen to jump into the questions. I'm really excited. I feel like we've got a superly engaged audience today.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question we ask everyone
Mhm.
is why is it important to be a part of Lift Up? The Lift Up community. So I'll send that your way first, Angela, and then we'll come to you, Libette.
Yeah, for everything that you said in the mission statement, I am supporting this because it inspires, it connects, and it really is acting as ambassadors for women and all leaders in life sciences. So it's inclusive, and just the incredible global reach is also another important part of this. It's not a one country specific, but it is totally considering different cultures, different roles in this broad industry of life sciences. So for me, it's the inclusiveness and the fact that the goal is to inspire and uplift.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. And anything to add to that, Libette?
No, I can't echo that enough. And really, for me, it's listening to everyone's stories, listening to women's stories and throughout their career journey and what's able to resonate and really kind of pick apart maybe a pearl of wisdom or shed new perspective. So that's what I love about it, listening to different women and, their journeys and where they come from. And it's very enriching and it's invaluable to me, and it helps me grow too.
Yeah, thank you, Libette. So I think let's kick off because we've got some great, fabulous questions that have also come through our community page, haven't they, Rosey? So
Indeed.
I'm hoping we can try and get through as many as possible. And obviously, the audience, if you could pop in your queue into the comments and your questions, that would be fab, and we'll try and get to those as well. But the first one I think we wanted to kick off with was, why is risk involved in purposeful career development? And perhaps, Angela, come to you with this. I mean, naturally, there's always risk, and the importance of having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset is important. As that served you well, that growth mindset in that respect, taking risks in your career?
Indeed, it does. Yeah, it has served very well for me. And I, the question is so well crafted because it's purposeful and you weigh your risk and benefits. And so the reason risk is involved is usually for that growth and development. It does involve going outside of your comfort zone. And it may involve taking on new roles or joining a company that is less established in order for you to grow and expand and continue developing. So, but you do so thoughtfully, and again, weighing the risk and benefits. So hopefully that that answers your question there. But I think it's all about what you expect as a beneficial outcome.
Yeah, and coming to you, Libette, with the same question, and perhaps going a little deeper, if you don't mind, but maybe me asking you, has there been a particular point in your career where you felt like you've taken a real risk and it's been rewarding at the back end of it?
Well, absolutely. And actually, Angela and I talked about this a couple of days ago. I was at an organization where I was very comfortable. I met a lot of my career goals, and, I was able to lead a group and be successful. But, I was missing something. I knew that I hit a limitation of sorts in terms of my personal growth. And it was really, I was coming up to actually having my son, who's now 2.5 years old. So here I am, pregnant, trying to figure out where I want to be, where I go, and on top of, a brand new family member joining us. And I made the decision to look outward and look at smaller organizations, being a true leader and being a stakeholder at a company. And I did take a VP role at a biotech prior to Akero, where I am now. And it was very, very scary. They were established, but there was still level of risk. And again, leaving my corporate family that I had been there for so long and just being comfortable, but it was a calculated risk. It was something I had to do to continue my growth mindset and continue my professional development. And being scared or being a little uneasy or having some anxiety, it helped drive me a little bit too.
Yeah.
So, it was definitely the right decision for me, in the crux of, life changing at home as well.
Yeah.
But definitely taking the risk to move forward and really get to what you really desire. And for me, it was more leadership opportunity, more growth, more visibility. And I'm glad I made the decision, but it was very scary.
And I know, and I'm putting you really on the spot right now. But what enabled you to weigh up that risk? Was it your family? Was it a mentor, a coach, your current hiring manager? Like, what was it that helped you able to make that decision?
Sure. It was a number of things. I think intrinsically it was my why. I was looking at my purpose and seeing where do I want to be, and wanting to be not only like a good career professional, but also being a good mom and being good at home too. So striving for that balance. And
that's a hard balance.
It is. And I think it's one that resonates with a lot of us here today, and just moving forward, but really taking that risk of trying to be a better me. And knowing that I didn't necessarily have the support or the outlets I had in my former company, and moving forward with a newer one. So it was calculated risk. I'm not going to say, I just jumped, head first.
Reckless.
But, right. But I knew if it didn't work out, I do have a comfort zone I can come back to. And to me, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be without a job. But, you look at it for, realistically too. So, but for me, that's how I approached it. But I'm glad, I dove in a little bit into the shallow end, and it worked out very well. So it is calculated risk, and one that I was comfortable with.
No, I think you. Sorry, Rosey.
I was going to say, I think it sounds like you surrounded yourself with a strong network whereby it's enabled you to not only have the confidence to make that decision, but also you've got something to fall back on, as you say, your comfort zone. You've got people to be there for you, and people to hopefully look out for you. I was going to say Andrew's comment. It's the what ifs. Can we really live with them? I don't think so. I think it drives a lot of our decision making is what if. I can seriously relate. So there's also been a question which I want to bring in, from the audience here. So how do you motivate yourself to and stay on track with your career goals while going through difficult times or challenges in your work life? This could be interactions with colleagues, this could be failing products, etc. And Angela, I'm going to come to you first.
Sure. Jed, this is a great question. So motivating yourself and staying on track. The first step is knowing what your career goals are. That's your North Star. That's what keeps reminding you why you're showing up, why you're going through those difficult times, why it's important to continue battling any of those challenges. So my first advice is to understand, and my own experience is to know what is important for me, what are my career goals. And then in terms of the motivation, it's a couple of things. It is, as Libette said, it's making sure that you are still being your best and authentic self, that you still like yourself as you're doing your job, and that your family isn't running from the room when you arrive, kind of checking in to make sure that you're still being your best self, and to stay motivated to yourself, commit to yourself. And then the other part of staying motivated is if you're working and a part of an organization that's serving a greater good. Our life sciences industry is often for life-saving therapies, for enabling good health. So as long as you feel that you're contributing in either some small or significant way to that career goal and helping with the output of our life sciences industry, I think that's another motivator to feel that you're still connected to that greater good and that greater cause. So those are just a couple of initial thoughts. From
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, thanks, Andrew. Because I would also just add on the staying on track. I think that, you've got things like appraisals or reviews that you can have internally, whether it's hiring managers or HR. But I do think it's important for you personally, even outside of your job and career, that you have like your own check-in. I remember a coach said to me like 4 years ago, that when you're in a really good place, you should really jot down and write down what your core values are, what your values are, what your goals are, whether they're short, medium, or long term, and you have a regular check-in with yourself, whether that's quarterly, 6 monthly, yearly. And then, like you said, when you're talking about being authentic and true to yourself and making sure that, when you're going home, your family still loves you and likes you. But it's like you can have a little check-in with, well, okay, how am I demonstrating the values in which I held, like that they were my values? Am I still working? Am I being true to myself? So I think that's a task that you could easily do at home in your own time, and just regularly having a check-in with yourself. So that was just something that came through to me when you were talking, Angela. But over to you, Libette. Is there anything that you'd add to that?
Absolutely. Sure. I think, overarching is just, continuing to have some sort of optimism and in that drive. So continuing your growth mindset, your goals, checking in at your values and who you are and who you want to be. But also, with my experience, learning when to stop going up that hill, and you might have to go around the hill, and what does that look like? So I think, but still in a very optimistic way, move forward in a direction which includes risk, which includes taking chances, and also reflecting on a lot of things within your own, both professionally and personally too. So just wanted to add that, just stay optimistic and also recognize when you have to pivot.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's also a thing of a lot of the time we're doing all these amazing things and we don't stop to reflect and actually give ourselves a pat on the back. Like, this is that check-in piece, I suppose, Louise, that you were saying is, this may be my career goal in 3 years' time, but if I'm third the way there 1 year down, I'm on track and I'm doing okay. And maybe giving them yourself that grace to really actually take it in. We always do forget to reflect.
Yeah. Agree. Great question. And I also think we talk internally a bit about this. A colleague of mine, we talk about having like anchors. I think having an anchor is really important, whether that's at home or whether that's at work. But it's having that anchor that's got your best interests as well. So you're always able to get positive, honest feedback. So when it is difficult at work, or it's challenging at work or at home, you feel like you can go and have a conversation and you're going to get an honest response back, not just what you want to hear. So find your anchors in and out of work.
We've just had 3 amazing questions come in, so I'm going to push on.
Keep going.
But I don't know where to go first. I suppose it's going to kind of change the conversation, but I think it's going to really relate to both our speakers today. So I'm going to pull it in. Unfortunately, I can't see who's asked this because LinkedIn user, but thank you so much for the question. They want to know, how do you keep learning and growing in smaller life science companies without necessarily being related to a promotion or what is perceived as that next step? And how do you show that you're ready for a new opportunity if it pops up internally or externally? I will come to you, Libette.
Sure. It's a great question. And, I think being in a smaller organization, you have the ability, I guess you have to be agile and you have the ability to do a lot of different things. I know what we look for and my organization in a smaller biotech is being obviously your SME, you're the expert in your own field, but having the ability to also be a generalist and cross-pollinate. So I think with that, you have many opportunities. Myself being in regulatory, I can cross-pollinate and help write clinical protocols, or I can help write, SOPs for quality. So, and I know this is jargon specific to the life sciences, but nevertheless, you do have an opportunity to expand your knowledge. And I think with a smaller organization, you have access to these experts, whereas coming from large pharma, the person that you might want to talk to might be 4 levels up, and it would be very, very hard to find time to speak to them, or if they have a willingness to talk to you. So use your resources. You will learn so much from these individuals. They know a lot of what to do, what not to do, and being in small biotech in a small organization, and use the resources. So while you don't have, these large resources like you have at, say, Novartis or Roche, these big platforms that you could go to a leadership conference, everything's at your fingertips with a small organization. Reach out, have personal touch points, have personal engagements. And I really think that you'll have a lot more, at least for me, I had better takeaways about, certain skill sets or what I wanted to do, or a peek around the corner about, C-suite, what's a chief development officer do, or what does a CEO really do? And I think you have greater access,
Yes.
in a smaller organization. I don't know, Angela, I know we talked about this too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll leave it to you.
just a personal story, because this is what I'm experiencing right now with my current position. It's a smaller life science company and what I call a safe environment to raise your hand, to take on new opportunities, as you said, and have access to really senior, seasoned professionals. And so in my current role, I started out as CMC development and supply chain, and then took on quality. Then now I'm raising my hand for another key function. So it definitely affords you an opportunity to continue growing and contributing. That's the key thing, is bringing that value and contributing as you take on new assignments. And so the smaller companies definitely offer more opportunities for that, or at least in my experience.
Yeah, and like you said, sometimes it's not always a case of a promotion or a title change. It's about the breadth of the role in which you are doing, or what it is you're encompassing or you're adding on to. But I think definitely from the touch points, you kind of got a lot better access from a smaller business point of view. But this a term we use a lot actually within the business is your network is your net worth. And I know Jean Hecht was also talking about this on our last live event, and saying that when you're in a smaller organization, you are climbing the ladder. It's so good to get a breadth of different connections within different areas outside of even the organization that you're in, because you've just got so much to learn from those different vertical markets that the other connections that you're going to be connecting to have got. So there's always ways to learn, whether it's
Indeed. Just to add on to,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say you're spot on, because even at the enterprise, let's call it the enterprise level, you can take on roles for risk assessment, risk management. So it's definitely, there's a lot of opportunities there to raise your hand and to bring your knowledge and experience from other larger organizations to scale it and bring it to a smaller firm.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rosey, you were going to say something.
And it ties in. I was going to say it ties in with taking that risk, and as you say, Angela, putting your hand up for those opportunities. So maybe to keep learning, maybe you need to step out your comfort zone and actually say, I'd like to try that. I'd like to try and take that on, and this is what I can bring, but this is what I'll need to learn. So that's really exciting. And that was Melissa that asked that question. She let us know. So thank you, Melissa, for asking a really, really great question. I guess this is a really nice one from a leadership point of view. Again, coming in from a LinkedIn user. So let us know your name and who you are. But when companies need to pivot, what are the steps to keep the team focused and confident that success is still possible? So as leaders, you both have probably been through that change management piece in strategy and teams. So Angela, I'm going to come to you first with this one.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And just in the recent 2 years that I've been with my company, we've encountered changes that caused us to pivot and change the organization. The first step is talking, well, acknowledging the change, explaining the business rationale around it, taking the mystery out of it so that it's not some opaque decision that leads to misunderstanding among your team. But then having the conversation with the team, I leveraged resources, employee health resources to help frame the conversation as a team. And then I had individual discussions with each of my team members to ask, again, what their career goals were, to assure them that despite changes in strategy or changes in programs, that there was still opportunity for them to have those development and career exposure opportunities, reminding them that their time and their effort is highly valued, and reminding them that they are an important part of the team. And then also, your question hits on another key thing, is for the leaders to remain calm and confident, right? Exactly. So if you can't convey that you're committed and confident, then that's certainly going to contribute to the overall success and outcome for your team.
Yeah.
Libette, anything you'd like to add to that?
I mean, that was perfectly said. I've used all of that too. And really, just being transparent and just even saying, I don't know. And, just being honest. And I think with your team, if there's something that there's a pivot with change management in particular, and really being there for your team and saying, look, I don't know what you're going through, but let's kind of recap, your skill set. How can we enhance that in the time being? I'm here to support you for your next opportunity, whether it's within the organization or out. And I think, again, maintaining that safe environment and that safe space helps tremendously, because otherwise, in the absence of not having that information, that just causes more and more anxiety. So what are the things that perhaps we can talk about and maybe talk through to kind of ease a little bit of the discomfort, whether it's change or if an individual, if a direct report just wants to maybe leave the team or leave the department, how can you help shepherd that?
And I think, very well said. I also think that there's nothing better than that kind of honest approach as to the why is it happening, if that's possible to disclose, and importantly, how does that why impact that person? I think sometimes it's easier for people to understand the changes that are being made if they can see how it's going to potentially benefit them. So it's kind of bringing it back to the team or them. So it's not the company's, radical pivotal change, and we're going to be off doing this. It's we're doing it for this reason, and we want you to be a part of it. Why do we want you to be a part of it? For these reasons. And then they're feeling like they're really on board. And so I think the whole narrative around the story as to the why and how it involves them, how it benefits them, is a really important message, I'd say, to deliver.
Yeah, amazing question. Thank you, Lisa. I think it was.
Thank you.
It's great to be able to speak with two leaders and just kind of ask them whatever you're thinking. So that's brilliant. There's another question here, which is kind of pivoting actually the topic a little bit, but we're going back to your own career path and so changing career paths. So for example, R&D laboratory work to regulatory would often involve some on-the-job learning, a big topic of today. And so how is this generally navigated with companies and hiring managers who are looking for someone who could do the job from day one? And Libette, I will come your way your way first this time.
Sure. It's a great question. It's one that I've gotten a lot. Here I am. I want to get into regulatory or a different department, and I have like 8 out of the 10 skills. What can I do, particularly when you want to hit the ground running? And really, there are oftentimes people that are coming in from different departments or different specialties, do have that ability. They do have like a bridge that they can offer and kind of fill that gap in terms of what I'm looking for as a hiring manager. So while it's not, okay, you've made all the check marks, how can we come up with a plan to kind of fill in the gap to provide that expertise that you need to succeed. So this is a question that comes up all the time. And, how do you, and it's really like, well, how can you give me a chance? I just want a chance. I could definitely do it. How can I do this? So really being able to navigate and put together a plan, because they might have emotional skill sets or other skill sets that are invaluable to the organization, and they might just be missing one technical aspect. That's something we can work on, and we can work on training and definitely plan out for their success. So, I would say keep on working with your hiring managers or what you're looking to do, and seeing where you can bridge the gap, because oftentimes you can fill it in, and even though you might not have, for a certain regulatory, skill set, for example, writing an entire dossier, but you might have been, in the labs, you might have contributed to writing part of the dossier. So how do we expand on that? So there's definitely ways in which we can do that. I don't know, Angela, I don't know if you wanted to say anything
to add.
Yeah, you described it again very well, and I just to build on that, the navigating within companies. So I would recommend and add on to that is understanding those 9 out of 10, understanding the job requirements, the job description, and what skill sets you do have and where the learning opportunities are. And as Libette said, how to fill in those gaps. One opportunity though in navigating is to reach out to that department for a part-time assignment or shadowing someone in that organization. It may be that as you see the reality of the position, it may be that it's something you do not want to pursue. So is there an opportunity for a part-time assignment or short-term assignment there? And if it is an area that you can learn through classwork or coursework, can you do that also in preparing for transitioning into a new role like that? One-on-ones and just tapping into the experts and just picking their brain is also recommended in navigating, and it helps you build your network and let others know that you're interested in other opportunities. So those are just a couple of additional thoughts in terms of how to navigate through an organization that way.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. And if my pennies are worth much at all, the only thing that I would add to that as well is I would say that typically I've seen in the past, if you're working for a medium to a larger sized organization, perhaps sometimes look internally at some other areas of opportunities that are open in different vertical areas and markets, because often you do see that people will sometimes take a bit of a sidestep to learn and craft a new skill set. And if you're in that organization and you're a valued, team member within the business that you're within, often they will be willing to open other doors into other areas for you to open up your skill sets further. Second to that, I would say go out to your network and look at getting referrals. And there might be some other organizations out there, there might be some good connections, known associates that you've got that are willing to put in a referral into their organization for you to step into something new. So just a couple of ideas from me there, but thanks, Partha. That's a really good question.
Yeah, we've had so many come through, but I wanted to see if we could cover this question, because I think it's important, and I know that it's definitely relevant to the community. So I guess the next question that I would throw out there now is, do you feel that there is more that can be done for the next female generation and the next generation in general of executive leaders in developing their growth mindset? And I'll come your way first, Angela.
So with a growth mindset, my answer is going to be yes, because I do have a growth mindset, and I first of all applaud all of our current leaders, generation of female leaders, and those who preceded us. Right, we're standing on the shoulders of others, and so who carved a path for us. So. But there's always room for continuous improvement, continuous growth, continuing to lift up others and prepare those young girls and young ladies who may not already have the exposure and the growth and the priming to be ready for corporate roles or life science roles. So I do think there's a need to reach back even deeper into, into younger generations to be ready. And then in terms of those who are already there and arrived, I think we should not take for granted what's been achieved. What we've worked so hard to accomplish, and we've seen it in so many other areas, geopolitical areas. What we've worked so hard to achieve isn't always guaranteed, and so we have to continue adding value, demonstrating our worth, growing the company. So I just would say that we cannot rest on our laurels, and we need to also prepare others, very early generations, to be ready to take on the baton.
I like that. Yeah, no, that's nice. Is there anything to add to that, Libette?
I absolutely agree with Angela, and really, forums such as this, having discussions and just, telling each other's stories, and, something that would resonate for a young professional coming up, or even someone that has, 30, 40 years, what have there been, their experiences have been, and for me personally, I was like, where's the playbook? I want to be successful. I want to do this, and this. And there was none.
Yeah.
So, really, having conversations and, just what works, what doesn't work, talking about growth mindset. How is that meaningful? What is your why? And, how do you get from here to there? And sometimes you have to step to the side to go up. And I think that's something, I needed to learn the hard way, especially, 20 years ago, like, I want to be there and you can't.
Yeah.
And so how do you get there? So
Yeah.
I think really, telling the stories, encouraging others, especially, the young ladies, young women coming up, and, even just, what we're dealing with today, like how do Angela and I, what's our next thing, and keeping that dialogue going. So, I think, again, keeping it alive in different forums is definitely the way to move forward and just continue the learning process.
I love that. And I think, if you think about what there is available out there now to the next generation versus even 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there is so much more. And I think the language of, breaking that glass ceiling and closing the gender gap, and utilizing your superpowers and the diversity, the importance of hiring diversity at leadership level to bring in the next generation of people into organizations. All the conversations are steering now in the right direction. So my advice to the younger generation is to be a part of those conversations, listen to those conversations, be a part of these community groups, listen and learn from others, and absolutely have that growth mindset where you're just completely open-minded to absorb, like a sponge, all the things that everybody's been learning on their journeys, which naturally I'm hoping will only inspire the future generation to come. So we're almost at time. Well, actually, we are at time. We're 47 minutes. Wow. But we've had some really great questions and great engagement from the audience. So we want to say thank you so much. We always finish with this question. So I'm hoping we've got some time just to really quickly ask this question. So I'm going to come to you, Libette, first, if I can find my question. So what is the single best bit of advice you would give your younger self? So we're talking about younger generation. So if there's one bit of advice that you would give your younger self going back in time, what would it be?
Well, I thought about it, and I have a few because I'm hard on myself.
Pick one.
Really, ask more questions. Don't be afraid. I was always afraid. And then really go down those rabbit holes. You don't know what you'll find. So sometimes it's something good, and sometimes you want to run right back out.
I love that. Thanks, Libette. And how about you, Angela?
Yeah, and I thought about it as well. And I would offer my younger self, this advice of networking. Get used to networking. You are enough. As my career coach just recently reminded me of that. You are enough. You just go out there, build your network, build those relationships.
Love that.
I love that.
That's really nice. Well, Rosey, I think we're pretty much at time now, aren't we?
Yeah.
So a huge thank you to Libette and Angela for joining us as our key speakers today. Rosey, as always, my co-host, the audience for getting involved. I'm hoping that we've answered as many of your questions as possible.
Yeah, we've
But
got great feedback coming through as well.
that's lovely, and it's nice to see such a global reach as well. So this will be completely viewable. You can rewatch at any point in time. It'll be on our Lift Up community page, also on the Fraser Dove International's page as well. We've got Lift Up Connect, haven't we, which is happening very
Yes.
soon. Rosey, give us a bit of an insight into this.
We are going face to face for the first time, which is so exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. We are hosting our first Lift Up Connect networking event for those who are attending CPHI or are local to Barcelona. We've got the amazing Sigma Mustafa, Chief Scientific Officer of KBI, coming to help host and also do a talk. And there will also be a networking piece that will be structured and help really build real connections, so that hopefully you'll be walking into day 2 and day 3 of CPHI with some familiar faces throughout. Again, to sign up for tickets, all the links are within our community page, and I'm sure we can comment here on the section with some more information. But anyone who's around and would love to attend, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, thank you so much for everybody dialing in, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. We hope that you have a fabulous rest of your day, and look forward to seeing you again in a month's time. Take care. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.